What's up, guys? It's Daniel with the Defense Lab, and this is episode 3 of our Ehud setup guide. So if you didn't see episode 1 and 2, that's on getting started and then setting up our sheath in different carry positions, make sure you check those out first. But today we're going to be going over a couple variations of a draw, as well as how to safely resheath our Ehud or our Ehud V2 blade. So for this, we're going to be using our Ehud V2 trainer as well as our Ehud V2 sheath. All these draws we're going to work are going to be into an ice pick grip, but it would be the same draw if you were working into a point up hammer grip. And we're going to be working from the appendix carry position, but if you're carrying at the hip or behind the hip, I'll show you any variation that you would need to these draws. Other than those variations though, they'll all be the same. So we're going to start here with our V2 blade in an appendix position, and the first draw we're going to work is our standard two-handed draw. Just like if you were drawing a handgun, we're going to clear our garment with our one hand as we go down onto our blade with the other hand. When we go to clear the garment, we want to make sure we grab at the bottom of the shirt, at the hem of the shirt. It may be right here when I put this shirt on this morning, but after some sort of altercation, somebody grabbing a hold of my shirt, pulling me around, shoving me up against a wall, this shirt might be stretched out and that hem may be a lot longer. And if I grab right here at the blade, pulling it up an inch or two might not be enough to actually expose that blade. Some people like to grab with their hand at the hem. Some people like to take their thumb and run it up against their skin. But either way, we're going to start under the hem of the shirt and we're going to run it up towards that blade. So here, and I'm taking it up towards the blade, nice and high, making sure the blade's completely exposed. If it was over at my hip or behind my hip, I'm just going to have to take that shirt a little bit further. So imagine the blade's over here. I'm going to take the shirt and rip it up towards that side, making sure we clear that blade. As this comes up, we can either keep our elbow in tight or we can use it as a shield, so I could come here and start protecting my head if somebody's crashing in onto me. The other thing that's going to do is start to blade that blade away from that person, where it's going to be harder for them to grab a hold of or stuff my draw just because it's further away from them and I'm starting to get a frame up between myself and them. As we get down on the knife here, I like to get my thumb behind the blade, starting to pull it out, and then I'll wrap my 2 or 3 fingers that can fit while it's still sheathed, and then as I come up, the rest of my fingers are going to wrap. Once we bring this up, especially with a point down grip, we want to keep this nice and close to my body. Any space between that blade and my body is going to allow somebody the opportunity to get their entire body between my blade hand and my body, which is going to make it easier for them to take it off of me and much harder for me to maintain, much harder for me to control this blade because I'm not nearly as strong out here and they have all the strength from their body on my actual blade hand. So once more, that's our two-handed draw, just straight on right here. Looks like this. You can get it down nice and fast practicing with your trainer, or if I'm going to do an elbow shield here, right here, and the blade's out nice and close to my body. So another variation of our draw is going to be our one-handed draw. There's kind of 2 reasons we may need a one-handed draw. One reason would be if our other arm's in the fight, maybe I'm grabbing somebody's arm or using this arm to control them or frame off of them. And the other reason would be to keep somebody out of the fight. So think a loved one that's with you, holding somebody back, a child or maybe your wife, holding them back, keeping them behind you as we're working to draw this blade out. I do like to clear the garment as much as possible, so I can either grab with my hand or take my thumb underneath and get it nice and high and then pinch with my elbow before coming back down on it. But the nice thing with a blade, especially when we're in that point down grip, is that the blade will cut on the way out. So unlike with a firearm where if you draw and your shirt comes back down over top of it, it could get stuck in your shirt. With the blade, as long as it's out of the sheath, it should cut its way out of most materials. So when I come in here, I can either come nice and high, pinch with my elbow and get down on it, or I can just go with my thumb underneath the shirt, get down on the blade, come up, and then the tip's out right now, so I can just go down and get it out. If the tip was stuck here, it'll cut its way out, and then I can bring it up nice and close to my body. So that's the two-handed draw, if we can clear the garment with one hand as we draw with the other hand. And the one-handed draw, if our other hand's in the fight in some capacity, and we have to clear the garment and draw our knife out with the same hand. Another variation of this draw that is important to know is our surreptitious draw. So maybe you need to get that blade out, but you're not ready to use it yet. There's a chance you may need to use it, but you want to get it out without it being seen. How we can do this is start out with our one-handed draw. So typically we would blade away from that person or try to get behind some sort of cover. I'm going to come under with my one hand. I'm going to hit my one-handed draw, but instead of coming straight up with the blade in more of an aggressive manner, I'm going to take this blade and I'm going to roll it down my hand so that the tip is facing up my forearm. I'll usually take my pointer finger here and cap it over the top, and now I can stand like this, I can stand like this, and my blade's out, it's ready to use. So if I was here and I needed to use it, maybe I would throw some sort of strike, like a palm strike, but I come straight from here, roll the blade around, get my index finger back underneath of that flag, and now it's up ready to go. So I can go from here, right in, and I can get it up pretty quickly from there. That's going to be a lot faster than having to draw it out in the midst of a fight. Another draw variation that it may be important to know is getting both of our hands moving at one time so that we can throw a strike and get this blade out very quickly. What that would look like is with my hand that I'm going to be going and drawing down on the knife with, that's going to come out and throw the first strike. I like, for this instance, a palm strike, which we're going to open our hand up and we're going to try to strike with this lower portion of our hand that's backed up by our wrist and the rest of our forearm. This is going to maintain the integrity of our hand. It's going to be a lot harder to break your hand doing this, as opposed to if you threw a punch, right? It's very easy to break those small bones in your hand. And I just broke one of those bones in my hand a couple years ago. It's very hard to then go and draw a knife or grip a knife. So that palm strike will maintain the integrity of our hand. We can throw that strike out, and as we do that, we're going to start getting our other hand moving to clear our garment. So I strike out as my hand comes down, strike out, this clears my garment, and then I come back down to get my knife out. Now I could frame off somebody, I could throw another strike here, but my blade's out, ready to be used. Once more with that, palm strike out as your other hand starts moving, and then the blade's out and ready to go. Finishing up here with safely resheathing our blade. The blade's out, you used it for whatever you needed to do, whether you were training or you actually needed to use this. And now how are we going to get this blade safely resheathed while the sheath is still in our pants? What you'll notice here is that the sweat guard on the back of the sheath comes up higher than the front of the sheath does. And this allows us to resheath a lot easier rather than if these both came up to the same height trying to drop it into the top. What we can do is we can take the tip of our blade or our trainer, hit the front of the sheath, and then we're just going to go straight back from there. We'll hit the back of that sweat guard, and then right from there, we'll go straight down into the sheath. Now the sheath material is a softer material than the blade steel is, and the blade's sharp. So if you start going in at an angle and you feel some resistance and you really jam this down, you could run that blade into the side of the sheath. Now it's not going to go through the sheath, but it's also not going to clip into the sheath like it's meant to. So just make sure you go straight in, go nice and easy with it, and then you'll hear a click there as it engages in those retention divots. If I'm running this behind my belt, like on my pants, or if I don't have a belt on and there's less rigidity for me to push this down into and actually get it engaged and snapped in, what I'll do is I'll get the blade in straight, and then I'll take my finger on top of the sheath and I'll just push it in the rest of the way like this. That way I'm supporting that sheath so it doesn't just push down into my pants. What this would look like on my pants here, so I'm going to put it behind my belt so it's a little less rigid. As I push down here, you see it wants to push the sheath down instead of the knife going into the sheath sometimes. So I'll just come here with my pointer finger, my middle finger, grab the bottom of the clip, and then I'll just squeeze the two together, and you hear it click in right there. So if I was going to resheath that while it was in my pants, come here, hit the clip or the front of the sheath, drive back until we're at the sweat guard, and then push it straight down in, nice and gentle so we don't run into the side of the sheath. I hope that helps. If you guys have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Make sure you check out our other Ehud setup guide videos. Until the next video, have a good one. I'll see you guys soon.